Welcome to the Fam Lab. We are so glad that you have joined us for a time of conversation about family life. We know that life in families is fun, it's tough, it's a time of experimenting, and that's why we're called the Fam Lab. It's a place where we can share ideas, learn from each other, and hopefully grow as parents in the process. So we're really excited to be back and to be bringing some great content to you. We hope it will be a blessing to you and your family. And we've got some new friends with us this year, and I'm excited for them to be introduced to you and for you to get to know them. So we'll start with Kyle. He'll introduce himself, and then we'll go through the rest of the group.
Hey everybody, my name is Kyle Beard, and I work with middle school students, and my wife Leah and I have got 3 kids. Excited to be talking with you guys and sharing ideas, and looking forward to the conversations we're going to have. Tiffany?
Hi, my name is Tiffany. I've been married to my husband Cole for 15 years. We have 3 children, an 11-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And I am blessed to get to work with some of our elementary students. And I also work with individuals with disabilities and helping support them within the church setting. How about you, Zach?
Yeah, my name is Zach Roddenberry. I am married to Jordan. We've been married for 10 years, and we have 4 kids, 3 daughters and 1 son. And my role here is I'm the high school youth minister, and just excited to get this going again, and thankful to be here working with all of you guys.
Hello, I am Rosalyn Miller, and I have been working here with this great team with children's ministry for over 6 years. It feels kind of weird to say 6 years, it's been a while. But I am married to the fabulous Haven Miller, and we have 3 emerging adult children. So uh, we're still learning as we're going, but it's exciting to be back in the Fam Lab. How about you, Jeanette?
Hi, I'm Jeanette King, and I'm married to Brent King. We've been married for 10 years. We have 3 children, Leah, 18, Braxton, 8, and Aria, 6. I'm sorry, 7. I feel like she's 6. I work in the children's ministry, 3rd to 5th grade, and then we also work with Camp Canaan and the Winter Retreat.
And my name is Matt Mead. It's my pleasure to get to host this conversation today. And I'm blessed to be married to Carissa for 9 years. And I have 2 boys, 1 5 and 1 1.5. So we're all at different phases in this journey. And I think that'll bless our conversations that we have. And hopefully some of the content will be relevant for you no matter what stage of your parenting journey that you're in. So we know you've listened to this podcast for a particular reason. You're looking for something from this. And so we would like to share what we're hoping that this podcast will be. So I'll throw it out there to our group to get us started by what they're hoping this podcast will bring to the listeners.
I'll jump in. I'll say, I get as much out of the podcast as I hope that our listeners get out of it. But I think it's just a reminder, one, that we are not alone. We're in a community of believers who love each other and want to support each other and help each other. And so we have each other and we can just lean on each other. And I think that's important. And also just a reminder in this stressful time that Jesus is really, really good at bringing people, even our kids, to Christ. And so, we need to not be so stressed, let him do his part, but we definitely need to figure out what part he wants us to play in this. And so I think it's important to know that he's got this. And it's a good reminder when we're all together.
Yeah, I think that a lot of the times we try to do things as parents, we try to do it on our own, and this podcast is really, or I'm hoping that this podcast really allows us to rely on each other and just understand that we don't have to do this, do everything by ourselves, and we've got help, and we've got a family of believers and like-minded people that we can rely on and that'll help us, and maybe give us some insight into things that we're struggling with, or things that we need at that moment. So I'm just excited to be a part of it, but B, to be a listener as well. So
Absolutely. I agree that it is just really encouraging to know that no matter what phase you're in, no matter what struggles you might be going through as a parent, that there's someone somewhere going through the same thing. And, we all have that same end goal, that same purpose to lead our children to know Christ better. And to hear how other people are handling different situations can be helpful practically, but also just encouraging to know you're not alone.
So we kind of want to kick it off with a fun question around as we're trying to have these conversations. We know that there are times where people have come up to all of us and given their piece of wisdom, their piece of parenting advice. And some of it's good, some of it's not so good, some of it's encouraging, and some of it just makes you go, yeah, okay, maybe that worked for you. But we're just going to share one piece of parenting advice that has been helpful to us, and just kind of to know that we're seeking advice as well, and we're blessed when we learn from others. Anybody want to go first with one of those good nuggets that somebody has passed your way?
I can start. So it's actually a piece of advice that I received pretty recently as we were transitioning to have our oldest go on to college. And having a high schooler has posed its challenges over the years, of course. And one of the pieces of advice my aunt actually gave me was, whenever they're telling you a story, you listen, and instead of interjecting your opinion or thoughts, you just kind of start with the question of, well, how do you feel about that? Or what are your thoughts about that? And then kind of allow them to kind of take the lead and have their own thoughts, and allow Jesus to kind of work through them, as opposed to them hearing our voice over God's. So it really made sense, because at the end of the day, our children are looking at us in everything that we're saying. Is mom being very judgy? Can I come to her again with help or a problem? So as much as I would want to tell her what to do, or, hey, this is probably the best way for you should go about this situation, the best piece of advice that I've received is to let God lead them and allow everything that we've taught them, everything that they've learned in the church and their upbringing, really shine through. And then that way, whenever she's telling me what her thoughts are, then we can kind of revisit it if it's not so good. But then if it is good advice, definitely encourage that. And then it makes them a little bit more confident in taking the reins over their life and those decisions.
I think something that was shared with us early was dealing with grace, and when you have kids, and you want them to be perfect, and of course they're not going to be. They're little people, trying to manage life and try to manage their emotions, and they're struggling just like we are, and you've got to be able to show that grace to them and to yourself, just because like, especially when my oldest was really young, I had no idea what I was doing. And I would just get so upset with some of the decisions that I made. And then I just had to, move on. I had to show some grace to myself, just because, like, we're learning how to do this also. So whoever that little old lady was that told me that way back when, I think about that a lot.
And when I, when Lee and I first had our first child, Grace, there are things that I couldn't do early on in her life, but I could be in the same room as Leah. And so I was trying to think of practical things that we received and were told. I got up in the middle of the night and sat in the room with Leah and Grace while she was taking care of her and feeding her and things. And so just being present. And then this wasn't advice that I was given, but it was something I recently read, and I'm trying to take to heart. Especially, I've got a 7 and 4-year-old, and the kids are always wanting our attention. And we live in a world where there's lots of distractions, and I'm definitely really bad at it sometimes, where I'm, I would say, inconvenienced by my kids wanting my attention, and so I'm trying to not be inconvenienced, and not to feel rushed or anything like that. I need to give them their desires, or just give them attention. I don't want them to feel like I'm ignoring them. So, and I want to be present with them. So
I'll jump in. I'll say there's so many things. My oldest is 24, so I've been doing this parenting thing, muddling through parenting for a long time, and I think one of the things is just allowing your children to see you invest in your own spiritual growth and allowing them to see you practice your spiritual disciplines. I think about, you can pray and, be a you can pray for your children as we always do, but if they see you praying, that is so impactful for kids. So just allowing them to see how you're investing in your relationship with Christ. And another thing I think has been really important, and I don't know if so much if someone gave me this advice or if I feel like I've just learned it through the years, but it's so important to be transparent with your kids about your own imperfections and your need for forgiveness. And I think those of us of a certain generation have a difficult time with that sometimes. So just being able, to apologize when you do something wrong or say that you messed up means a whole lot, because of course we know that none of us are perfect, and we don't want to raise children that feel like they have to be perfect, and that's a lot of stress and pressure on all of us. So yeah, just that transparency about who you are as a person and as a Christian in your walk is, I think, very helpful for your children.
I agree. I don't know if it's truly advice, but there's that saying that the days are long, but the years are short. And my husband and I talk about this often, that you can get kind of bogged down in the day to day and it can be overwhelming and feel really hard. But when you really stop and think about it, your time with your children is so brief. And, you've seen those visualizations of the marbles that show how much time you have remaining with your children. And I've heard things talking about the golden years, and my husband and I talked about we're in those golden years. Our kids are old enough to really remember what we're doing. They're old enough to they enjoy doing things with us, not so old that they don't want to be with us anymore. It's like these years that really count. And it just really encourages me when I think about how brief our time is with them, to fight through those hard days, knowing that it may feel long in the moment, but it's a brief phase and it'll pass, and makes me want to be intentional. Like, I know I don't have unlimited time with them. These are the days that I really have to teach them the things I want them to know, to lead them by example, to expose them to the things that I think will really help shape them into the little Christ followers that I want them to be as adults. So not losing sight of the fact that each day we get one time, and it's this one short phase, and then they'll be on their own someday. And I really want to make these days count.
Those are all great pieces of advice. I know one thing that I always appreciate when somebody gives us advice is when they don't bypass our current life stage. I know that sometimes you'll be sharing about something going on in your parenting, and they'll say, oh, just wait till they're teenagers, or just wait till they're in such and such. But when somebody actually enters into your spot in life and really tries to speak into that, I know that that's ultimately really a blessing to us. We know things are going to get harder potentially. We know things are going to be tough in every stage, but really being present with somebody when you're giving advice is really helpful for sure. So when we think about this, advice hopefully comes from a good source. It hopefully comes from being in a community of faith. As parents, we're always kind of trying to find the right balance between the role that we play in our kids' lives and the role that the church plays in our kids' lives. And so when we think about that, it's definitely a dance. It's definitely always something we're reevaluating. But what are some thoughts that come to mind about the church-family partnership?
I know that we talked about this in our high school class the other day. You know, I'd be lucky to have them, an hour a week, on Sunday mornings, and you have perfect attendance. That's 52 hours a year, you know, and so compared to what they get at school and what they get at home, that's not a whole lot. And so um, I think it's so important that, I mean, of course I want the kids to be at church, and I want them to interact with them, but um, man, it's such a partnership. We don't get as much time as parents do, and I would love for parents, in their home life to be full of biblical teaching and conversations about God and stuff. But I know that lives are busy and schedules are busy, but uh, I think if we can have that partnership where we're not the sole provider of their faith journey. We're just like we get them on Sunday and we teach a class and we do songs and stuff and we make them excited about being at church. I think for me, that would be the perfect partnership.
Well, I'll say that I just think it's so important for parents not to feel, I guess I would say, disenfranchised when it comes to being able to support and teach their children and share religious traditions and to just share God's word. And I see our role as ministry leaders as someone and those that just help to equip parents. So it's not all about the time we spend with the kids, and that's important, but it's also about spending time with parents and making sure that parents just feel supported in this tremendous role that they have with their children every day. And yeah, I think that's what's important. And I guess I would also say just that intergenerational element I think is so important, that as a church community that we just support each other at different life stages like Matt alluded to, and that we have others of different ages that can speak into the lives of our children that they love and they know have their best interest. And hopefully, again, it's ministry leaders that we can be a conduit to help those relationships through, you know, activities and just doing whatever we can do, reaching out to help form those relationships and support parents.
I think one way that the church and parents can partner together is to see that, you know, with your own kids, they may not always listen to what you are saying, but if somebody else at the church is saying the exact same thing, they'll probably more listen to them. That may be more true definitely in the teenage years. But, you know, it's just nice to have other people that are supporting each other and encouraging your kids and involved in their lives. You know, trustworthy adults that whatever age your child is, they can lean on for advice or know that that person cares about them. I mean, even as small children, you know, if you have people at church that just show appreciation for kids and show them that you can trust them, and just all those things that we can to support one another. It's just helpful to know that we're not the only people that can help and love and support our kids. Because I think that can be overwhelming sometimes. And so when we feel like, wow, it's all on us, we need to remember that the church is there to support each other, and we can, you know, again, ask for advice. We can tell people, man, hey, can you just take my kid out to lunch, or I don't know, just be around them. Building those relationships, I think, is really important.
Yeah, I think y'all touched on this, but but it's really twofold. It's what our kids are picking up from those other people in their life at church, and the ways we can grow as parents to better equip our children through the rest of the week. We're growing when we're at as parents when we're at church on Sundays, on Wednesdays, and that's better equipping us to be the parents we want to be throughout the week. And I love that there's that community to experience that with when we're in a church body, to encourage each other, to learn from each other, and to invest in each other's children. I love that.
Yeah, I was gonna say for me, I know it was a little bit backwards, almost. I know a lot of times parents they look for, okay, well, the church is providing these things, and maybe this will help, partner that faith formation for me to work on it at home. However, for me, it was we really Brent and I had really worked on trying to have that process figured out for home. And then when we were looking for a church family, we were really looking for a partnership, a place where we felt like, hey, this is a place where I can trust for my kids to be, where I know that Jesus will be at the forefront, that we will make great connections with other families, and we would be able to trust that if they are, spending time with their children, or if we, meet in fellowship of small groups, that, we have all together this common denominator of our children wanting our children to grow up with Christ as the forefront, in whether it's on Sunday or it's Monday through Saturday, because yes, there is a big world out there. There are a lot of other influences are pretty loud, but if we know that we can have those connections outside of our home, and it starts in our church building, and then those relationships and those connections can be translated throughout the week. And then now we're seeing our youth minister at our track games, or our track meets, and we're seeing a family that we met in Bible class on a Friday night for game night or things like that. Those are really those building block foundations that I know that we were looking for personally when we had come to this church, and it's something that we were definitely able to find. So it's definitely something that I feel like, just through our own testimony, we like to share that a lot to help other families realize, like, maybe if you haven't found it yet, you will find it. And we're here to kind of help bridge those connections for you.
Absolutely. Definitely is a partnership. That's definitely something that I think God has set out as part of our parenting responsibility, is to find those environments for our kids to grow and thrive, but also to struggle, to learn, to realize that the faith walk has ups and downs, and church is where we learn that sometimes. So as we think about leaning on Scripture, and thinking about the fact that ultimately God has given us the great gift of His Word to help us guide our families, is there a particular scripture that really resonates to you as a parent, or something that you keep coming back to as you think about your approach to parenting and family?
I like to keep things really simple, and I don't like to have too many options. I get overwhelmed by a lot of things. So I love in Matthew 22, when Jesus is asked about what the greatest command is, and he just tells them, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and greatest command, and the second is like it: love your neighbor as yourself. And when I think about that, in the aspect of parenting, I just think, like, we make it really complicated. Sometimes we get bogged down with wanting our kids to know all these different things, academics and sports and spiritual things. But when it all boils down to what matters most, am I teaching my kids, and am I showing them the example of loving God first, and then loving others? And so when I get really overwhelmed, I just take a step back and think, in this moment, how can I show them to love God? How can I show them to love others? And so I love that, just that clarity of simplifying things to what really matters.
The one that I go back to is in Deuteronomy 6, and it says, the message is very similar. The Lord our God, the Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your might. And then I think where this relates to parenting for me is you shall teach these words diligently to your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in your house, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, when you rise. And it's just, whatever situation we're going through, I really hope that, my kids, they're never lost. They know that they can go to God. And if we're making that a priority in our house, as they're young, I hope that that resonates when they're older and, something troubling happens or whatever, that they feel ready and willing to just talk to the Lord, because that's what they know.
Well, this was a hard task, but I'll say the one that I chose is First Peter 4:10. Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms. And for me, it just reminds me that we all belong. We all belong to God's family, and we all have something to contribute. And it's so easy in this time to feel like you don't belong and like you don't have gifts, and that you're on the perimeter, you're on the outskirts of any community. But in this community, there is a place for you and your talents, and rest assured you have them. God has given them to you, and that the community that you're in needs those talents and is not complete or living up to its fullest potential without you, without your kids, without your parenting that you're providing to your kids, just to other. If you don't have children and you just want to contribute to this community and be a part, there's a place for you. There's a place for everyone. So it's just a reminder of that.
I have two, but they go together, so it's twofold. So the first is Hebrews 10. Well, no, the first is Galatians 6:9. So let us not grow weary of doing good. In due season, we will reap if we do not give up. I know a lot of times when we hear this scripture, I know personally, I think about, okay, doing good maybe at work or just in church. But if we really think about doing good in parenting, right? Because there have been plenty of times where I felt like I'm doing, I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I'm giving the right advice. I feel like I'm being a good mom, or we're being great parents in what we try to do or how we try to raise our kids. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to necessarily do the right thing, right? A lot of times we decide that the way that our children act or is a reflection of our good or the good that we do as parents. And so it can weigh pretty heavy on us and make us, sometimes want to just give up, throw in the towel. But we have to realize, like, hey, you know, everything is in God's hands, right? He's the one that's in control. So, it's just this walk of faith, right? So I think about Hebrews 10:23, let us hold fast to the confession of our hope without wavering, that for he who promised is faithful. Because, you know, it's really easy to say, like, hey, have faith, like, God's in charge, but when we're actually living it and doing it, and we are parents, and like it's our kids, right, that are on the line, and we would probably just do just about anything to make sure that they stay on their path. But it's to me, it goes back to realizing who's in charge and that we're not in control, because no matter what, in Jeremiah 29:11, like, God has the plans, right? Not just for me to prosper me and for me to have hope in a future, but for my kids. So when I remember those scriptures and really dwell on that, it helps me to not give up, no matter how much I'm like, you know what, I'm just not gonna mom today. I'm over it. Okay, God, you know what, I'm gonna just throw them back to you, and you're in charge, and whatever happens, happens. But I dwell on those, as well as Brent, and we'll remember, God tasked us with parenting, and He not just tasked me with parenting my 3 children, but helping others who are also parents, like, remember that, hey, God is the one that's in charge. Like, try to hold on to that hope and that faith, like, without really wavering in that, and knowing that God is good and he has a plan.
The one that comes to my mind, honestly, is when Jesus is napping in the back of the boat, and it's just chaos outside, and the storms are raging, and like I'm just picturing all the disciples just like running around like crazy. And if you got little kids, that's exactly how it goes, right? You're trying to take a nap, and your kids are bothering you, knock on the door, and there's so many relatable things in that. But he comes out and he's like, peace be still, and everything is calm and stuff. And so I think what we need to do as parents is, in the midst of chaos, be that example of calmness. And that's hard to do, right? And when they're constantly nagging you for different things or won't leave you alone and being a little shadow. But again, it's because they love you. Jesus, again, wasn't inconvenienced at that time, even though he was trying to take a nap. He's tired. Parents are tired. But he still took care of the situation. And then I'm just picturing him like, you guys, did you doubt? I can handle this. It's fine. But our kids are just, it's going to be so crazy sometimes. So not as serious and probably as good verses as you guys came up with. But that was honestly the first thing that came to my mind.
Yeah, I haven't seen peace be still be as effective at my house as maybe Jesus did on the boat, but it's a good goal, right? It's a good goal. Well, we're going to do 3 just kind of fun questions, and then I'd like to tell you what you're going to get for the rest of the season from the Fam Lab, and just kind of thank you again for being with us. But these are just fun, short, quick questions so you can get to know us. And the first one's really easy. It's, what is your favorite ice cream? We all need that comfort food as parents from time to time. So what's your favorite go-to ice cream? Zach, kick us off.
All right, so we've been trying to be dairy-free at our house, but dairy-free ice cream is just not very good. So I will sacrifice my body a little bit for the good of the ice cream, but my go-to would be strawberry.
Coffee, anything coffee. Coffee ice cream. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Mint chocolate chip. Green mint chocolate chip.
You gotta be wary of other colors.
Rocky Road.
Rocky Road.
Oh, Rocky Road. Yep. Love the crunchy. Love the soft marshmallows. So good.
All of the above, Matt. Zach, I promise I will give you a list of amazing dairy-free ice creams. I've been dairy-free for quite a while.
Please, yeah, because all the ones I've had have just makes me want to put it down.
I know. But in all seriousness, my favorite go-to is soft serve vanilla on a cone with rainbow sprinkles. They have to be rainbow.
I'm a sucker for the Texas two-step, the old combo cookies and cream chocolate chip cookie dough from Bluebell for sure.
Oh, yeah.
If you had, that moment of rare escape as a parent, and you're going to put on your go-to relaxing music on your headphones, what is your go-to band that just takes you to that other place?
Oh.
Since I'm the oldest one here, I'll start. I'm going all the way back with some Earth, Wind, and Fire. That's me. Going to the 70s, people. Yeah.
If I want to be completely mindless, I take it back to my childhood and some 90s classic country.
I'm going to show my nerdiness here, and I will put on the movie playlist of the Lord of the Rings.
Mine is not working.
Nice.
Jordan makes fun of me regularly for that, but that's true honesty right there.
I appreciate that, Zach. I was not expecting that.
You can't
I honestly, if I just want to like relax or chill, there's some I don't know, just instrumental hip hop beats that I can kind of just, I don't know, refocus my mind, and also I don't know, just I like those beats. They're relaxing. Sounds cool.
All right, one last question. What is one show or movie that your kids particularly liked that you also enjoyed just as much as they do?
Bluey. Yeah. I'm going to say it first.
It's a good one. It's a favorite at our house, too.
Yeah, definitely popular right now.
I have seen Harry Potter, all movies, probably 150 times. I I don't necessarily mind them being on. Sometimes I enjoy certain ones, but my husband does not, I will say. But yes, they all three will watch a Harry Potter, yeah, over and over again. So
See, I knew I connected with your kids, Rosalyn. I knew. Kyle, I'm going to back you up. I'd go Bluey as well.
I agree that Bluey is one of the best, but we are also big Toy Story fans. We have seen all of the Toy Stories multiple times. They're on repeat. My son never gets tired of them, but especially he loves the second one. And so we're all a little endeared to Toy Story 2 when Jessie shows up. So it's a favorite.
Sweet story for sure.
It is.
My boys love Gladiator. Oh, I'm just kidding. No, sorry, we haven't shown them that. But no, I don't know. I have a love-hate relationship with Bluey. We'll have to talk about that on the podcast sometime. We'll have to get deep into the Bluey and parenthood thing. But Jeanette, do you have a favorite?
I'm sorry, I missed the question.
Favorite movie or TV show that you like as much as your kids?
That's a hard one. Well, I'm going to have to jump on with Rosalyn. We are definitely big Harry Potter fans at our house. So we've watched all of them and then again and then again. Outside of that, let's see, Pirates of the Caribbean. But I don't know that Arya likes it too much. But yeah, definitely Harry Potter for sure. They're just now getting into, I guess, the Wing Feather Saga on the Angel app. That's like a fan favorite in our house. Definitely waiting for season 2 to come out. And until then, for some reason, they just want to watch season 1 on rerun.
The kids definitely have a high tolerance for watching the same shows over and over and over, for sure.
They do.
Mm-hmm.
Well, here's what's coming on the Fam Lab this season. We've got a lot of great interviews lined up. We also want to interact with you, and so in the notes below this show, you'll see an email in which you can submit questions or topics or ideas that you'd love for us to talk about in the Fam Lab. And there will be some times in which we're all together, and there will be some times in which a few of us will be following up on the conversations that we have on the podcast. But we would love to hear feedback. We would love to know how this is as relevant as it can be for you, because we know that time is scarce, and we appreciate you taking the time to listen to the podcast. So thank you so much for being with us. Be looking for new things this year, and we ask that all of you work together as we all seek to work together to have our homes grow in Christ likeness. So thank you for listening to the Fam Lab.